how to make a fondant frog. So we start off with a ball of green or whatever colour. You might make a red frog or a yellow frog, whatever you want to make it, and roll it into a ball. And then the way I could describe this is almost like a crooked pear shape. You want to come in a little bit, so it's almost like a pear shape. So just run your fingers around the edge and this bulby bit down the bottom with a smaller bit at the top, and then he just comes over a little bit. You just push him over a little bit. So that's how we get you do this sort of bit of a crooked pear shape almost. And that basically is going to give you your head and body shape, so your big fat body and your small part of the frog. Once you're happy with the shape, you get another ball of fondant. Again, sort of roll it into a sausagey type shape, more so you can get the right sizes with the legs, so make sure it's about even. Cut it in half, hopefully that's about the right size. And then I tend to roll it in a ball again, then roll it out to a sausage. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit skinnier at the other end, because we'll stick that in. We'll need webbed feet, so it doesn't matter if it's a bit fatter for the webbed feet, because that looks good. What you're trying to do is make sure that the legs look about the right size each. And they've got to be fairly long, because you've got to actually bend them around the creature. Make them about the same size. Actually looks a little longer, but just take that. Right, so when you sort of think you're about right, just have a go. Is that going to be, it looks about right. Bend it up. So really what you're doing is you're putting these legs like that on either side of your frog. Make sure his head's around the right way. Once you've got your legs in position, you flatten them out, and that becomes his webbed feet. So we will stick all this down in a moment, and then you just score it with the knife. You can give him 3 or 4 or whatever you want. Now of course we don't want his legs coming off, so we just put a bit of fondant glue there to help that stay on one side and on the other side. So there's his feet. And of course we want him to have some arms, so I get another smaller piece of fondant and I roll it into a ball, sausage. Again, this is really only the sausage, the ball sausage thing is really only just to get the markings right, to make sure I'm trying to get the same size arms again. Because it's really, unless you're really good at judging those things, and I'm not, it can be kind of interesting. Now, I actually probably could, I'm just thinking, these are only need to be little. I could probably use the one piece. So I might just, now that I've got that to a sausage, I might actually use that, cut it in half again, and just use this one, because his arms don't need to be too long. Arms are going to be, yeah, see that's long enough for his arms. And again, I haven't stuck it down yet because I'm just sort of getting the shape right. And you just so that they come around. You can do them as long or short as you like, and then once you work out if you're happy with them, make them a little bit longer. About the same size, roughly, sort of. Let's have a slightly out eye. Anyway, then you just, again, you just want to score, make sure that's clean, score the hands, so he's got some fingers, because we all know frogs have hands and fingers. And then you just get a little bit of glue, so he's scored, on the inside of that. Make sure you've got them around the right way. Just stick it here. Again on the inside so that the hands are on the outside. Just stick it in here. Oops, don't think I did enough glue there. There you go. Then we add some eyes. And again, depending on how big and boggly you want them. Again, important to try and make the eyes at least the right size. Sometimes it can be a little illusion depending on which way he's leaning, whether the rest is even or not. Now before we put the eyes on, we want to give him a nice big smile. Now you can use if you've got a nice sharp edge on a piping tool or a cutter. I like this, has got a bit more oomph. And I just put it in here. And he has a lovely big smile now. And then we put our eyes on. Actually didn't need to put that much glue on, but anyway. So the eyes stick here and here. And of course he's not quite there yet because he needs a little bit of white in his eyes. So get a couple of little bits of tiny little pieces of white. And again, I want to try and make those pupils as similar as possible. So tiny little pieces of round fondant. And then just pop them on. And I tend to squash them in as I put them on rather than try and flatten them and then put them on. And then we'll come back and we'll put either a little tiny dot of black fondant, or you can get a texture, edible food colouring texture, and put it in there, depending on how you want him, how fat he is, you can play with him. And the other thing is that you can make a little crown to put on him, or a little hat, you might want to put a hat on, depending on how you want to dress your little characters up. But it's kind of fun just to put some other little things on them. You might even put a bow tie on him. But anyway, that is essentially how you make a fondant frog. And when he's dry, you just put a little bit of black fondant. Now, one thing, I've made these eyes go one way. You can make them look whichever direction, but if you put them in the middle, they look a bit, I don't know, a bit fake. So I tend to put them off to the side or up to the top. And again, he's wet, so he actually should be doing this when it's dry. So he's going to be looking at me over here. And I'll fix them up when he's dry. But there you have your fondant frog.